Everybody's always talking about the divine feminine, and no one has talked about the divine masculine. So you can't have one without the other. And if you don't have balance, then everything's just going to be really screwed up. What's up, children of the sun? This is your metaphysical advisor, Montre Bible. And I want to talk about the divine feminine and the divine masculine and the difference. Divine feminine is basically the intuition. And this is why women are so good at embracing divine feminine, and men have to work on it a little bit. It has nothing to do with being a man and a woman, but as masculinity and femininity are things that are a part of us. And I talked about it in the last video. But it's about learning how to balance those energies, especially if you're trying to manifest, if you're trying to do magic or anything. If you're trying to make stuff happen, you have to embrace both energies. So divine feminine is the intuition. It is being able to receive information from the universe. It's being able to see things and pull from the Akashic records and say, okay, what is the universe telling me? And a lot of people are disconnected from the divine feminine. They can't receive anything from the universe. They can't hear anything from the universe. And that's a scary thing to be. That's a scary place to be if the only thing that you can do is be in your own head and just kind of, you're not guided by anything. So divine feminine is where we get our creative energy, is where we come up with our imagination and things just come to us. You have to embrace that energy, and you have to even manifest things. You almost have to woo the divine feminine. You have to this is where we get rituals and trying to get to stir the divine feminine up, which however you get your spirituality going. And a lot of people do it in different ways. Like maybe it's dancing, and we see that a lot in a lot of religions and different religious practices or even magical practice. People will dance and listen to music to get the vibration up. That's it. They're trying to woo the divine feminine, because you just don't say, hey, come to me, divine feminine. She ain't gonna do it. You have to kind of bring her in, to bring the divine feminine in. And so when you do that, you have this, what you call a spiritual experience. Now, a lot of us are familiar with that. We see it in life, okay? The divine masculine is different. The divine masculine is actually manifesting something. It's actually expressing something. It's putting it out there. If you don't embrace the divine masculine, a lot of people do, and they don't know they're doing it. If you're not doing the divine masculine, which is actually expressing something, you're just doing a bunch of hoopla. You're wishing for stuff, but you're not doing anything. And what we're getting is a lot of people who are like, the power of intention. They're visualizing and they're focusing and they're doing all this stuff. You're like, oh, I'm dreaming of myself rich and I'm dreaming of all this stuff. And then they're like, well, nothing's happened. Well, because you haven't embraced the divine masculine, which says do something. Okay, so you have to actually do something and move one step forward. The divine masculine is putting your thoughts to action, putting your imagination to action, actually putting a product out. Okay, remember, divine feminine, receiving, divine masculine, projecting. So now you're projecting your intentions out. You're doing something. You're putting it into work. You're doing the work. And I think a lot of spiritual people hear that all the time. Do the work. So doing the work is the divine masculine. A great example of this is the sun and the moon. The sun is hot. The sun expresses itself, okay? And it shows us things. Everything that's hidden in the night is seen when the sun comes out, because the sun says, okay, enough of the darkness. Let's see what's going on. Everybody wake up. That's the divine masculine, where the moon represents the divine feminine. It receives energy, especially the full moon. It receives all of that energy and only lights up a little bit and makes everything a little bit more mysterious, and things aren't what they seem. And now we have to trust our emotions because it takes away all the rationale stuff. It darkens out everything else. It's like doing that dark night of the soul kind of thing. And now we have to trust our emotions and how we feel about stuff. But too much of one thing is bad. You know, if all you're doing is trusting your emotions and you're not doing anything and making and applying it, application divine masculine, then you're never going to manifest anything. You're just going to be sitting there wishing and dreaming. So the divine masculine is expressive, the sun, and too much of that is also bad, because then you burn yourself out. So too much divine masculine energy, you're not trusting your emotions, you're doing everything, but you have no imagination, and you're burning yourself out. And that's usually what happens with people who have too much masculine energy, which is toxic masculinity. Too much masculine energy. Too much feminine energy is toxic femininity. Never heard that before, right? Yeah, well, yeah. You can't have toxic femininity. So, where you're like emotional about everything. Everything hurts your feelings. When we see that in life, where people are always offended by something, because it's toxic femininity. It's like, oh, my feelings are hurt, my feelings are hurt, my feelings are hurt. And you're like, oh my God, get over it, right? So when you have balance, you're like, okay, I feel something, now I need to do something about it. And let's have balance. Divine masculine is also a very protective energy. So anytime you're doing a protective spell, a protective ritual, anything of that nature, you're trying to say, okay, boom, let's put some boundaries on something. You're using the divine masculine to do that. So that's why you need to be able to project things out and say, okay, here's a limitation. Anytime you're making boundaries for yourself, for other people, you're putting that energy out. You're doing a ritual that has certain rules, regulation. That's the divine masculine. You're saying, okay, this is how far I'm going to let this go. When you feel malevolent spirits and you're like, you can go no further, that's the divine masculine. That's a protective energy that says, nope. Okay? Where the divine feminine is, yes. Divine masculine is like, no. So there's a need to have a balance between both. It's neither good or bad. Neither one is good or bad, but too much of one can be very negative, and too much or not enough of the other. You get what I'm saying? So either way, find a balance between the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and then you'll start manifesting things as you want to see them. I hope that helps make your reality happen, because if you don't do it, then who will?